Hello everyone! Welcome to this fun tutorial where I will demonstrate how to create variations of animal hair using the Freya Animal Hair brush set. You can also use this as practice before diving into the longer exercise. What we're going to do is create different little fur balls, okay? We will do short hair, long hair, patterned hair, as well as fancy ones in your favorite color. Before we begin, please download the reference photo to follow along. We don't need to replicate them exactly. We're just using them as a guide. First, create a new canvas in screen size. Once you get the new canvas, let's start with a simple short hair with a monochrome color. You can apply this technique to any short-haired animal. I'll open the reference window and go to Image. Then, import the reference photo. So, the first thing we'll be making is going to be this photo. Rename this layer to Furball 1. Alright, let me enlarge the canvas. I'll create the first ball of hair here. Let's select a brush from the Freya Animal Hair brush group. The first brush is the Freya Hair Base 3. Adjust the brush size to around 30%. Choose an orange color. It can be any orange from the reference photo. You can just pick it up from here, or you can just select it from the Colors panel. Okay, let's do it. I'll draw in a circular motion and make a ball, like this. I usually pick the medium color as a base in order to control the color better. So, create a fur ball here. Then, create fluffy hair outlines. Do short strokes at the top and a little longer at the sides. Something like this should be fine. I think it's cute already. Next, add the hair detail with a darker color. Select the Freya Hair Detail 2 brush. Adjust the size to 30%. Now, I'll select a darker color. Then, draw some on the top with short strokes in order to create the short hair effect. Also, emphasize the bottom part in order to make it look spherical. Next is to add the light hair detail. The color is going to be a light beige. Select the Freya Hair Detail 3 brush. Adjust the size to 22%. Just apply it to the top part. That looks nice! After that, the last step is to add the single hair strands that will make the hair look fluffier. Switch to the Freya Hair Single Line 1 brush. Adjust the size to 12%. The color will be a bit brighter. Then randomly apply here and there. Okay, done! Let's move on to the next step, which is the longer hair. We will do the same technique but with longer strokes. The good news is, you can choose any hair color you like. For me, I like pink, so I'll go for that. Let's change the reference photo. I'll select this one. I'll add a new layer and rename it to Furball 2. The brush will be the Freya Hair Base 4. Sized at 20%. Pick a medium pink color that looks similar to the reference. Let's go with this color. Then, I'll make another ball. Next, create the hair outline. Make longer strokes around the circle. I'll make it curl a little bit. It looks cute, doesn't it? Next is to add the hair details with a darker pink. Select the Freya Hair Detail 1 brush. Sized at 30%. Pick a dark pink color. And apply it on the top and emphasize it at the bottom. Next, let's add the light hair detail with long strokes. I'll change the color to a lighter pink. Change the brush to Freya Hair Detail 11. Sized at 27%. Then, apply it to the ball, but not too much. Next is to add another layer of the lighter pink hair detail. Select the Freya Hair Detail 13 brush. Adjust the size to 27%. Select a lighter pink color. Apply it on the top area, particularly in the center. Next, I'll do the same thing, but with a different brush. Change the brush to Freya Hair Detail 14, sized at 20%. Adjust the color to something even lighter than before. Then, apply it to the top part of the circle. Nice! The last step is to add the single hair strands, just like what we did for the first fur ball. Switch to the Freya Hair Single Line 1 brush and adjust the brush size to 12%. You can use the same color, or you can pick a lighter color that is near white. Then, randomly apply it with longer strokes. Oh my god! I love this! Okay, moving on to the next ball. We're doing the tail of a red fox. This is my favorite one. Let's change the reference photo to the red fox keychain. I'll use this picture as a reference. Next, create a new layer. Rename it to Furball 3. Select the Freya Hair Base 4 brush. Sized at 20%. Pick a dark orange color. Follow the reference. Then, create a circle. Also, create the hair outline all around it. I'll extend the hair at the bottom, like this. It's very cute. Next, let's add the base color for the white hair. Select a grayish-orange color. It's actually gray, but with a little bit of orange mixed in. Somewhere around here. Apply it to the bottom part. Add the color and blend it well. Next, add the darker color. Switch to the Freya Hair Detail 5 brush. This one. Adjust the brush size to 9%. Select an orange-brown color. Then apply over the orange part like this. Next is to add the light hair detail. Change the color to a lighter orange. Something like this. Change the brush to Freya Hair Detail 3. Sized at 25%. Apply over the orange hair. After that, change the color to a creamy white. Apply it over the white hair, just like this. Next, let's do the hair with an even lighter color. Change the color to a lighter orange, maybe with a little bit of yellow. Switch the brush to Freya Hair Detail 10. Adjust the brush size to 25%. Apply it over the orange hair. After that, change the color to the creamy white, almost white. Then, apply it over the gray or white hair area. Change the color to the lighter orange again, with a tinge of yellow. Apply it on the top area again. Then, change to white. Okay, nice! After that, let's do the dark hair on the outer edges of the tail, the black areas over here. Select the Freya Hair Detail 10 brush, sized at 30%. Select a dark brown color. Make it very dark. Apply it on both sides. Looking good! Finally, the last step is to add the single hair strands, just like the previous fur balls. Switch to the Freya Hair Single Line 1 brush, sized at 12%. I'll add it on the dark areas first. Then change to white and add it to the white hair. Okay, looking good. Now we're done. Moving on to the next one, which is also fun to make. Change the reference photo to the tiger one. Then, create a new layer and rename it to Furball 4. Select the Freya Hair Base 5 brush. Adjust the size to 30%. Pick an orange color. Or you can pick the color from the reference. Then, create a ball. I will also create the hair outline around it. After that, change the brush to Freya Hair Base 4. Sized at 20%. Select a darker orange color. I'll apply it on the right side. Change the color to yellow. And add the color somewhere here. Let me adjust the color again. Then, add the color here. Let's choose a grayish yellow. Somewhere here. Apply it on the ball. Change the color again to a lighter yellow, almost white. Now, you have a nice gradient just like the reference. Next up is to add some more details. I'll select the Freya Hair Detail 12 brush. Sized at 25%. Select a brown color, an orangey brown. And apply it over the orange area like this. After that, do the detail for the areas in a lighter color. So, I'll pick the color from the base. Then, adjust it to the lighter side. I'll change the brush to Freya Hair Detail 10. Adjust the brush size to 30%. Then apply it. Once the color starts to blend in, change the color again to something lighter. Pick it up and adjust the color. And apply it over the rest. Change the color once again to white. Cover the lightest area. Lastly, change the color to gray. And apply it to the leftmost edge, like this. Okay, nice! Next, let's do the tiger stripes. The key is to draw the stroke according to the direction of the hair. Select the Freya Hair Detail 13 brush. Sized at 20%. Select a dark brown color. Dark brown, a very dark one. Then, start creating the pattern according to the reference. Keep in mind, the strokes should follow the hair direction. You don't have to completely replicate the pattern. Just draw enough for it to resemble the reference photo. So far, so good. Take your time and follow the direction of the hair. Nearly there. Fill in the gaps as necessary. The last thing we need to do is the single hair strands. Switch the brush to Freya Hair Single Line 1, sized at 12%. Pick an orange color and adjust it to a lighter shade. Randomly apply it over the pattern. Okay, looking good. Now you have a tiger fur ball. Aw, look how cute it is. The next fur ball is a cheetah, which is quite similar to the tiger one, but with some tweaks. First, change the reference photo to the cheetah. Let's go with this one? Oops, sorry. This one. Create a new layer and rename it to Furball 5. Select the Freya Hair Base 5 brush. Adjust the size to 30%. Pick an orange color. You can pick it from the reference photo if you want. Then create a circle shape. Add the hair outline all around the circle. After that, change the color to a creamy yellow. The color around this area. I'll apply it here. Then, change to a light gray color and add it to the bottom part. Aside from that, I think I'll add a darker orange color on the top. Pick up the color and adjust it to a darker shade. Then apply it to the top. Okay, nice. Next, at the base of the pattern, I'll select a new brush. It's going to be the Freya Hair Base 8. Adjust the size to 25%. Change the color to a medium brown. And create the spots. After that is the hair detail. I'll pick up a brown color. I'm going to pick this brown. This can be the same color as the base of the pattern. Change the brush to Freya Hair Detail 10, my favorite one. Adjust the size to 30%. I'll apply it over the orange part. Once you reach the bottom, change the color to gray. Pick up the color and adjust it. Then continue doing the same thing. Next, change the color to a lighter yellow. And apply it to the top. Now, change the color to white for the bottom area. Nice! Next up is the detail of the pattern. The key is to do the stroke according to the hair direction, just like what we did with the tiger. Select the Freya Hair Detail 11, sized at 15%. Select a dark brown color. Then, start creating the spotted pattern as seen from the reference. The strokes should follow the hair direction. By now, you can get a feel of the general look of the spots. Keep it consistent but dynamic. We're halfway done with these spots. Try to stay within the movement of the hair to give it a natural look. Okay, good. Next, I will emphasize the pattern even more by decreasing the brush size to about 8% in order to get a sharper effect. Change the color to a darker shade. Choose a dark brown that is almost black. Then, apply it partially. Okay, then the last step is to do the fine hair detail. Switch to the Freya Hair Detail 10 brush. Adjust the brush size to 30%. Select a white cream color. Then, randomly apply it over the pattern. That's it, we're done. The last fur ball is just for fun, so feel free to choose the color you want. Okay, let's start. Create a new layer and rename it to Furball 6. Select the Freya Hair Base 4 brush. Adjust the size to 30%. I'll choose a blue color to create the base shape, but you can pick any color you like. After that, I'll choose a new color. I'll pick pink because I like the color. Okay, maybe this pink. Then apply it partially. Afterwards, I'll change the color to yellow. I'll add to this area. Change the color again to a pastel orange. Maybe some green? At this point, you can turn off the reference window now. Let's add the hair detail. I'll select the Freya Hair Detail 10 brush. Adjust the brush size to 25%. Choose a color that is close to a bluish purple. Something like this. Then, apply this over the blue. Maybe on top of the pink too. Change the color again to a light blue by picking up the blue color and adjusting it to the lighter side. Apply that to the fur ball. Then, I'll do the same thing for the next color. Adjust it to the lighter side. Then, apply it on top of that color. Next is yellow. Then pink. Then the green. After that, I'd like to add some magenta on top of the pink hair. Maybe add some around here too. I'd like to add some dark blue on top of the blue hair. I'd like to add some light yellow on the upper middle area here. That looks so cute! I think we're done. I'll arrange the position of these fur balls a little bit. After we have all the fur balls done, I want to add the shadow under each ball in order to make them look like they're floating. First, I will change the background color to a mint blue with a little bit of gray. Okay, this looks nice. Create a new layer and rename it to Shades. Move this layer to the top. Oh, sorry. Place this layer underneath the fur ball one layer. After that, I'll create the shadow by using the selection tool. Select the ellipse option. This one. Zoom in on the first ball and create a flat oval shape under it. Fill in the shape with a gray color. Like this. Now, make it blurry. Go to Adjustments. Select Gaussian Blur. Then, use your Apple Pencil and drag it to the right. I think adjusting it to around 10% is enough. Next, change the color mode of the layer to Multiply. Let's also reduce the layer opacity to about 60%. Okay, good. I'll move it a little bit. When it's done, I will duplicate and place it under the rest of the fur balls. Awesome! Alright everyone, I hope you had fun and enjoyed this tutorial.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like or leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. As a thank you, loyal subscribers receive a 10% discount on my Pet Portrait Perfection. Check the description for coupon code. See you in the next video.